Okay. Are we live, Sonia? Okay, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everyone. I am very happy to welcome to our next Smart Tribe webinar. And today we're going to talk about mental and emotional well-being in academia. After being almost a year in the lockdowns, up, in and out, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for everyone around the world, not just here in London. We thought this is a topic which is really, really right on time, although probably it's very on time anytime. We have some fantastic person to talk about it. I would like to welcome Özgün to our webinar.
Thank you so much, Beatrice.
Özgün is calling from Belgium, although she's originally from Turkey. And she's got a PhD she's a social policy researcher.
Yeah, correct.
But her passion is to help academics to talk about emotional well-being, especially in academia. And she has a dedicated podcast to that topic, which is called Mind Your Own Revisions.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy you actually came up with this idea to talk to everyone.
Yes.
So thank you for that. And we picked it up and said, yeah, this is great. Yes, we definitely should be talking about it. We're all under pressure in general, and now more than ever. So Özgün, my first question, what's the interest? Your PhD is about something different, but your passion is about helping academics in particular, about the emotional well-being. Where does it start, and what triggered that?
Yeah. Well, as you may have imagined, it's my own story that triggered it. Now looking back to all my life, I see that mental health has been one of my biggest vulnerabilities, in fact. And this was something difficult to live with, as it is for so many people. And as many people who have similar struggles, I had a lot of fear, shame, and guilt around it. I thought of this being a weakness of mine, a personality defect or of some sort. So, and during my academic career, especially after I started my PhD, it got worse and worse and worse and more difficult to manage with all of the extra stress coming in and over-identifying with my work. So it came to a point where I couldn't manage it anymore. And after some drama, let's say, I'm not going to go a lot into that at the moment. I am open to talk about it another time. It made me start to think about this. And I said, okay, when somebody has a broken arm or a sprained ankle or something, we can talk about it. It is visible. People ask you how it is going, and it is normal to not go to work or to take a break from some tasks or anything. But mental health is still a taboo, even though all of us have a mental health. And now experts are pretty much agreeing on the fact that mental health is a spectrum. So all of us are somewhere on that spectrum. And at any given moment, any of us can move from one part of that spectrum to another part. And we should be able to talk about this. We are all human beings. We have basically the same needs. And emotionally, we all need belonging, acceptance, and love. So, yeah, I said, it is time to do something from my part to start talking about this and to just be the change I wanted to see in the world. So that's how it started. That's how Mind Your Own Revisions started, the podcast. And after that, I also got some trainings to become a coach, a life coach, and a mindset coach. And I decided to help academics with anything related to their mental and emotional well-being and their mindset. So that is also starting now. So basically, I am trying to help people with the same struggles I had and still have to a certain extent. And I want to just open the dialogue, the conversation about this.
So it came from your personal experience.
Yeah.
What triggered you to dedicate yourself to that topic? And academia is a very liberal environment. So talking openly about, mental well-being, emotions shouldn't be a problem, right? Because it's a very liberal. But still, it is taboo, right? Why is that? Why it's even in academia, it's still taboo?
It is not only a taboo in academia, it's a taboo everywhere. And I think it is because of the way we see it, the way we see it as a personality defect of some sort. And we want to hide it because we are afraid. We are afraid that we will lose our jobs. We are afraid that we won't be able to collaborate. We are afraid that we won't be able to keep up with all of the demands of academia that's keeping on increasing. And yeah, everybody I talk with is complaining about this because it is just sometimes humanly impossible to do all of the things that you're supposed to do, quote unquote. So there's a lot of fear around it. But yeah, as you said, on the other hand, it is something that is so normal to talk about. And I have been just looking at the WHO's definition of health, and I'm going to read it for the people who don't know. WHO defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease of infirmity. And this has been the definition of health for WHO for the last 75 years, since the start of the foundation of WHO. But I think we are still very, very far from accepting the social and mental health also being as a part of the health when we think about health.
Yeah. And can you help us also to understand, or maybe we can sympathize better and understand what are the common struggles coming for academics? We can probably, when you tell us, we can say, oh yeah, I can recognize that. So probably will feel us better also. But what are the common struggles you can hear from academics?
Oh, so many. You're talking about mental health related struggles, or in general?
In general, but which also cause the mental health struggle.
Okay. Well, we can talk hours and hours about this, I think, but my short answer would be, I think personality-wise, many academics can identify with the following adjectives: idealistic, very highly intelligent and analytical, hardworking, perfectionistic. That's also something. So we just try to do our best. And the reason why we go into this career is usually this feeling of doing good in the world, a contributing to the life, the others, to science. And because it is not easy. It is not for everybody, academic career. So you need to have the love of contribution, and you need to love working to this extent. But then, on the other hand, there is this environment that we are in, which is overly competitive, getting more and more and more competitive, where we need to keep proving ourselves, and there's no end to that. And then there are so many high demands that are increasing also, the demands of project acquisition, teaching, publications, all kinds of things. You're supposed to review articles for free, you're supposed to teach, probably do overtime, you're supposed to write your article on the side and do your research, and you have only one life, one body, one mind, but you're supposed to do like 3-4 the full-time jobs almost. So many people I talk to also in my practice, in my coaching practice, they come to me with complaints of not being able to keep up, and they have these questions about productivity. How can I be more productive? How can I do better? How can I manage doing all of this? So what I try to also show them is that there is no productivity without well-being. You need to take care of yourself. And this is not only something that's going to happen with a bubble bath. There's this weird conception of self-care being, a bubble bath and curling up on the couch with a nice book. It is much more than that, and we have to work on it. And many of us academics have to learn how to take care of ourselves. And maybe another thing I need to say about this is that emotionally, I think many of us are a bit closed. Like, we don't like to feel our emotions. And since we are people who have over-invested in our intellect and our mental activity and our thinking, analyzing, synthesizing, all of these mental activity, we take more and more distance from emotions. And this is a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? Because emotions are messages from our body, from ourselves, our physical body. So when we are deaf to our own emotions, we cannot see anymore what causes a problem for us, what makes us unhappy, what makes us happy. And sometimes we find ourselves in situations such as burnout, where the symptoms have been ignored for so long. And when we get there, we go, oh my God, what happened? How did I get here in the first place? But when you look at it, the symptoms have all along been there. So I think it is something that academics need to be careful about. I am saying this from my own experience. I had to learn this from scratch. I had to go to a coach and to therapists, and really, sometimes there were times that I didn't know what I felt, and I had to go to the Hoffman's list of emotions. What am I feeling right now? What's on the list corresponds to it? That big of a detachment. So I think it is also very important for all of us to just stop at any given moment and ask ourselves, oh, what do I sense in my body? And how do I feel? What do I feel right now?
Yeah. Very interesting. And on top of the professional pressure, we have personal pressure, right? Because this is the age where people are starting or already have families. I think it's not uncommon. Your example, moving from a different country, it's very common for academics to move to different geographies, start life somewhere else. So the pressure also coming, starting life somewhere else, life, families, friends, on top of everything else as well. But do you see the challenges? I mean, the pressure coming from professional and life. Is it irrespectively of people's background, men, women, and geographically, it's pretty much common everywhere, right?
I think so. And I think it's not, these are problems that we academics have a lot, but I think everyone who's over-invested in their mental activity have similar problems. Men and women, I cannot give you statistics, but I'm guessing that it is true. It's just that I think men talk less about it. And we know it from research that men tend to talk less about their stress, their struggles, and tend to find themselves in these situations where, oh my God, how did I get here? But just like you said, for academics, we move around a lot. We go where the job is, and we run after academic positions. And that creates a lot of stress that we just ignore. We just say to ourselves, oh yeah, toughen up. Everybody is doing it. I need to do it too. But it is funny that every one of us who think that everyone else is doing okay, but that's not true. Everybody has the same thought. Oh, I feel so stressed and I don't know if I can cope, but everyone seems to be able to cope. So better I don't say anything about it, because then it means I'm weak. Yeah, but changing location, spending time from your away from your family and your social network, no social support, that creates huge stress. That it's a stress that I experienced myself. A lot of colleagues coming from other countries, I saw they struggle with it a lot, and it is also not something we talk a lot, and we just take it as a like rules of the game. Oh, if you're an academic, you have to move around. You won't have any roots. You just go where the job is, and yeah, we need to be able to take care of ourselves and decide for ourselves if that is a life we want to live or not.
One of the key messages on your podcast, I've noticed, you keep emphasizing in many of the episodes, wear vulnerability as a badge of honor. This is something really comes across so strongly. What do you mean? I mean, should we just kind of talk about it out loud, show that we are vulnerable, that people can understand that we are weak? And that's not something you want to show, especially if you are transitioning from academia to industry. You're looking for a job, you have to come across as a sharp, accurate and confident, because employers want to see you that way, right? They don't want to hire someone with with emotional problems. But you're still saying, wear the vulnerability as a badge of honor. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So the term vulnerability came into my life, my personal dictionary, with the work of Brené Brown. I think some people who are listening right now know her work. So Brené Brown defines emotional vulnerability as this feeling we get during times of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So we feel vulnerable when we face the risk of not being accepted by the other person. And she also says that the most accurate measure of courage that we have right now is vulnerability, our willingness to show up as a vulnerable person in the world. So the funny thing is, in fact, we are all vulnerable. We are human beings. We are vulnerable. None of us like to not be accepted. None of us want to be excluded. Everybody wants to be accepted, and everybody wants to belong, and everybody, wants other people to like them. And we are all vulnerable in this sense. It's just that some of us think that when we put up an armor, we protect ourselves from this, but that's not true. It is just a lie, basically. You lie to yourself and the other, trying to show that you're on top of things. Everything is under your control and all of that. This is a real how to say, it's a sign of a lot of fear, a fear that I had also. I still have, by the way. I am still not very comfortable going on the podcast and talking about, I have this and that happening, going on, and talking about these things. But on the other hand, I know that everybody is feeling this way. You can either ignore it or accept it. And ignoring it won't make your life any better. Actually, it will make your life worse, because you're trying to pretend all the time that you're on top of things and you're doing all fine. You can deal with everything that comes, and you can do that and that and that and some more, because you're basically a machine that runs on coffee. I think this is a very wrong approach that we have been taking in the Western societies in the past few decades, and it is time to change this. It's simply not true, and it has a lot of negative health effects, health emotionally, mentally, and physically. There are lots of studies coming up about this. The burnout is increasing, anxiety in the workplace. It's something we talk about a lot now. Yeah, it's not true that most of us are having everything under control. So by wearing your vulnerability as a badge of honor, first of all, you accept it instead of ignore it. And you say, yeah, I am a human. And from this point, I want to relate with other human beings. I don't want to just talk to you as Beatrice, CEO of Smart Tribe, a businesswoman, but yeah, you're a person and you have fears, you have desires, you have dreams. So talking from the point of vulnerability enables you to have this contact from you as a person to that person as a really human being. Yeah.
It's interesting because about a year ago, I listened to a coach who is also teaching how to make a good speech. So not a speech therapist, but more a coach about on public speaking. And one of the points which I remember, he made many good points, but one I remember very well. He said, when you're speaking publicly, it is fine to show some vulnerability because it shows you are human and it creates a sympathy from the audience. Yeah. Not that you are just so confident, it's actually puts off the audience, but show some vulnerability, which is completely fine.
Exactly, because people want to interact with people, not with machines, computers, or people who act like machines. Your humanity is important here, especially in 21st century where things are being more and more automatized and being done by machines and things. Our humanity is the most precious thing that we have, and showing vulnerability is the best way to exercise our humanity.
There's one question came up. I know we're not on questions yet, but it came question exactly about from Manuma. How to act vulnerable when your environment is not even aware of it or accepting it themselves?
Well, we need to talk more in detail about this because I don't know the context. But what I can say very shortly, first of all, do we know that it is a fact that the environment ignores vulnerability, or is it our perception of it? Because sometimes our fears come in the way and we assume that, for example, our boss would react in a certain way if we reveal this thing or that thing that bothers us, or any mental health related issues or whatever. But it is most of the times it is just something we make up in our heads due to our education, our past, and our own limiting beliefs. From my own life, I have such a story. I thought I would never be able to talk to a boss about this. And when I did, the amount of support and sympathy I got and the empathy I got, I was shocked. I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought, yeah, maybe he will fire me or whatever. So try to know for a fact that if that is a fact or something that you're making up in your head. And secondly, vulnerability is something you can exercise in certain stages. Vulnerability is not going out and telling everybody about all of your life and all of your problems and everything. You have control over it. The most important thing is to be honest with yourself. Be willing to be vulnerable with yourself, with your friends and family first, and then see how it goes from there, and then you will find your way.
It's I read recently a report from Harvard Business Review about top 10 trends for employers. What is going to be important in the post-pandemic world, and actually employers' mental well-being and health it was one of the key things. So
Yeah.
the mental well-being is going to be almost regulated and accepted by employers, who need to take into account, not see as a weakness, but actually help and sympathize.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. My next question, I'm going to help myself with a note because it's something I took from your podcast as well. So your motto, you also keep coming back to it. Feel your feelings, manage your mind, increase your capacity. Those three things.
Yeah.
Feel your feelings, manage your mind, increase your capacity, which directly I found relates to these three focus areas of improvement, which is improving confidence, well-being, and productivity. It seems like those three kind of pillars of your coaching, right? Is that understanding?
That's true. That's true. And they all work together. And it is not rocket science, and it's not something I invented. But as I moved on with my own struggles, and as I started helping others and talk with others about how to overcome our fears or our other work-related issues, mental health-related issues, and all of that, those are the three things: the feel your feelings, manage your mind, and increase your capacity. Those are the things I see time and time again. Well, it all starts with feeling your feelings. If you skip this, nothing's gonna work, because everything else that you do is just forcing yourself. The problem arises when you keep forcing yourself. More mental health related issues arise. More productivity related issues arise. You just become unhappy if you just by the force of willpower force yourself to work more and do more. Many people are doing this, so I think many people would relate to that. So first you need to learn how to feel your feelings, like pick up those sensations, body signals from your body, and name them and look at them non-judgmentally. What do I mean by emotions, by feelings? It's anger, anxiety, fear, happiness, joy, jealousy. Yeah, these are feelings that we all have as human beings. The problem starts when we start, first of all, judging them with good and bad feelings. Oh, I felt jealousy. I'm a bad person. How could I do that? There's problems with that. And secondly, when we over-identify with them. So, I feel anxiety. Oh, I'm an anxious person. So it becomes the identity. No, you just feel anxiety, and everybody can feel anxiety. And in relation to mental health, I've also seen the benefit of taking distance from your emotions and also from your mental illness, if you have any, and saying, instead of, oh, I am depressed, for instance, I feel depressed. It gives you this healthy distance and a bit depersonalization of the issue, and then you can approach it more calmly. So that is something important, I would say. And a little note, I have been thinking earlier about how I would say this sentence in my own language, in Turkish. And it's funny, we would say in Turkish, I am in depression. So we wouldn't say I am depressed. That doesn't exist. I am in this. I feel that. So that is a nice way to approach it. We need to change our language with relation to our feelings. Secondly, as you said, is to manage your mind. That is basically, that pillar is all about understanding that your mind is not you. I mean, you are not your mind. You are more than your mind. Your mind is here to serve you, to help you with your life. Your analytical abilities come from that, but at the end of the day, you come up with the results. So for the researchers in the room, they would understand it like this: you run an analysis, a statistical analysis, for example, and it comes up with all kinds of results and everything. And at the end of the day, you are the one using your common sense and your previous knowledge and your literature review and all of that, you are the one who's supposed to put things together, put things into a perspective. You don't just take the analysis results from the computer and say, okay, this is it. So thinking of mind like this and taking control of it instead of being controlled by it. So the more you are controlled by your mind, whatever comes your way just comes in unfiltered. And this creates a lot of issues, especially when you're dealing with mental health related issues. All of the low self-confidence, unworthiness feelings. Oh, I need to work more, I need to do more. Well, really, do you? Just stopping and thinking about this. And third, increasing the capacity of feeling your feelings. Sky's the limit with these things. Increasing the capacity of managing your mind and increasing your capacity overall in dealing with everything that life throws at you. Because when you look deep into yourself, even if you are dealing with mental health issues, or any listeners who are in that situation right now, you will find that you're actually capable of doing much more than you think. So this is what I mean by increasing your capacity. Actually, the capacity is there. It's just you need to be aware of it and then say, okay, I can deal with it. And then once you're okay with this big of a container, oh yeah, I can deal with more. I can deal with more. And then it is more difficult to get overwhelmed by everything. And you know where to stop. The boundaries are a big issue for some people. You know where to put your boundaries and all of that. And yeah, it also relates to the confidence, well-being, productivity. Well, it's a different three-pillar thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I would argue that there would be no well-being without confidence, because you need to be confident in yourself. You need to feel and be convinced that you're deserving in order to put your well-being as a first and your self-care. And then from there, you can move on to more productivity. You cannot just try to do more and more without taking care of yourself. Just like they say on the planes, you need to put your own oxygen mask first before trying to help others and do other things, because if on the way you lose consciousness, everything that you're trying to do will stop anyway. So
there's a lot of questions coming up, but I have one or two more very quickly. One thing I do want to ask you is about burnout. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's a topic on its own. And when we chatted before, you said, well, that's a topic on a separate dedicated webinar about it. But if very briefly, if you can think, I mean, we all can say about burnout, I had faced it as well, past in my life, but collapse from overworking and not seeing the signal and so on. So what's how to recognize the burnout? Do we just until the moment we collapse, so we get sick, and how to deal with this, how to pick up yourself from it?
Oh, well, a very good question. And indeed, for another webinar, another like 5 webinars or so, the thing is, for many people like myself, who didn't know the warning signs and who weren't even able to feel their emotions, when the burnout came to me, I found myself there. So like you said, just collapsing, just like that. For different people, it manifests in different ways. For some people, it's a mental breakdown. For some people, it's physical. They need to be hospitalized, whatever. The thing I would like to say about burnout at first is that there's a lot of misinformation about it. There are a lot of misconceptions. I've even heard some people say that, oh yeah, the other day I was in front of TV and I snoozed off around 10 o'clock, but I never go to bed before midnight. So it means I am burnt out. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. Burnout. A nice analogy is that stress, dealing with stress is about your cup being full and getting, emptied and being full again, and sometimes it's overfull and you're too stressed. But burnout happens when the cup is broken. Like you can't hold anything. So it is a very different phenomenon. It is not like, when you're too stressed, you like automatically burnt out. When the cup is broken, you are in burnt out. You are in burnout. And the problem with it is that it has also stages, burnout. And if you ignore it until the point of collapsing or mental breakdown or whatever, the more you ignore it, the more difficult it is to come back from it. So how do you recognize it? Well, for some people, it is very difficult to recognize it themselves, but listen to the people around you. Usually, if you have friends or family around you, people will tell you, there's something wrong here. You need help. You need to stop. You need to take distance from this. If you're hearing this a lot, maybe it is time to stop. If you're over-identifying with work, if you're feeling extreme guilt, all of the moments you don't work in a day, if you feel like you can't take it anymore, but you are feeling so hopeless and you see that no way out, the only option is to go through, well, these are all very serious warning signs. And once you are there, well, it is really not the topic of this webinar, because you need professional help. You cannot just you can't read a book and get out of burnout. You cannot take a 2-week holiday from work and get cured. Burnout is a medical syndrome. So it's something that you need to be healed from. You're a patient at that moment. And I am not a healthcare professional, so I won't give more details about this.
So my very last question before we take questions from the audience is how to prevent burnout. You mentioned the moment when you're going to, okay, if you collapse, of course you need to get medical help and really take it seriously. But prevent, as you talk about, take care of yourself, listen to your feelings and so on. But some practical tips, so how to deal with daily life stress, how to, I don't know. For example, sometimes I just unplug some things. There's so many things. I just said, okay, there is so much I can deal with. This is it. This is gonna to be gone. I'm not gonna to answer to this email, or I'm not gonna to deal with this. That's it. Or I'm just gonna to go for a walk. I like sport, so I just tire myself physically, regular every single day, and it really helps me clear my mind and make space in my head. I mean, people have different ways of dealing with things. Some meditation is another way. What would be your advice to deal with our mental well-being on a regular basis?
Yeah. So we can think of it as a cup. As I said, there are things coming in, the stressors coming in, and you need to empty it regularly. And you can do it in different ways. For everyone, it works differently. For more athletic people, running, tiring yourself out, that's a really good idea, because you complete the stress cycle. When you're, evolution-wise, when we are stressed, it's because we are activated to either fight or flee. So when you run and spend that physical energy, the cycle is complete and you can relax. The thing is, it is not always a good advice for people in burnout. Once you're in burnout, for instance, if you're in a certain stage with adrenal fatigue and all of that, sometimes the running and doing these physical activities create even more burden in your body for your for you to deal with. So you need to be careful with that. I would say do whatever you feel like doing. If you don't feel like going out for a jog or a run, you don't force yourself. And actually, that's my biggest tip. Don't force yourself to do anything. See all of the things that you don't feel like doing as a sign. Oh, why would that be? Maybe you are too tired. And once you stop, you see that you are too tired. And I would say self-care is a very, very, very important. And self-care using the three pillars of feeling your feelings, managing your mind, and increasing your capacity. And everything starts with feeling your feelings, not to be deaf to what your body is trying to tell you. And I would say self-care has also three pillars. One is connection with yourself, like being able to sit with yourself and feel whatever is coming up. If it is exhaustion, it is exhaustion. If you don't want to do any more work and you keep procrastinating, that's a big message. You need to seek help for these kind of things. Another thing is acceptance. Accept whatever is there. And instead of fighting with it and ignore it, just say, okay, I accept that this warning sign is here. What is it trying to tell me? If you need to stop, if you need to unplug, you need to unplug. There's no way around it. It's not like, oh yeah, unplug half of the things and then empty the cup halfway and then go back to it. It's just we keep being stuck in that high stress cycle, and at some point the cup breaks. That's why it breaks. You need to really unplug and be compassionate with yourself. Sometimes we don't have any problem with being compassionate with another person, but we are so hard on ourselves. And I see this a lot with the academics, especially the ones who overwork. And when I talk to them, sometimes your colleague, for instance, would you require them to work as much as you do? They would say no, but yeah, I need to do the work, I need to finish, so I do it, but I don't require other people to do it. Yeah, why do we treat ourselves in this way while we treat other people in a completely different way? There is a problem with the compassion here towards ourselves and others. So self-compassion is a big one. A very, very simple way to see whether you are being compassionate with yourself enough or not. What would I do or say if my best friend was doing this or saying that or whatever? What would I do in that moment? And am I treating myself as I would treat my best friend? That's a big one. And otherwise, all those like unplugging and going for a walk, yoga class, this and that, you will find all of these self-care tips online. Actually, I don't need to say much about it. I think the tricky thing is to find something that works for you. And one last thing, I would say, do something, at least one thing that makes you be connected with your body. And you can do this in so many different ways. You can do sports, you can sing, you can play an instrument. It requires, your hands or your voice. Just really do something that makes you feel your body. That is an important one. So in short, try to get out of your head and go back in your body. Remember that you're only a human being and you're not Superman. And try not to do everything at the same time. And for other specific questions, I would assume that many people would have, I really encourage people to seek professional help, really. It could be a psychologist, a therapist, a psychiatrist, depending on the needs, or a coach. Coaches also know a lot about human psychology. And if your problem is not traumatic or very difficult to deal with, you can also seek help from a coach about increasing your productivity, seeking more well-being in your life, changing your mindset, and go really deep on the questions like, yeah, why am I forcing myself to do this or that or that? while I wouldn't want my best friend to do this, for instance. So,
That's
yeah,
a very good tips. I love the one about liking yourself, and that's a very good. Thank you so much, Özgün. We have a little bit of time for so many questions coming up. I try to be fair and read to you this most of them. The first question came from Stephen, who said, I was open about my mental health years ago. Unfortunately, I was labeled as a weak and vulnerable person.
Yeah. And the question, is there a question related to
it's more a statement, the question,
yeah.
But people feel scared to admit about mental health because he was labeled as, we are saying show the vulnerability as a badge, or wear it as a badge of honor, but the fear of being, as Stephen says, being labeled as a weak. It happens. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does happen. I don't know which country he's in. For example, if he was in Belgium, the country I live in, I would definitely go to my labor union about this. This is like really open discrimination, and that's the thing. We don't realize that we are discriminated against sometimes, but this is a really just like being discriminative towards a person with disability. Like, you just can't do this, because the people with mental health struggles, they don't choose this themselves. So it is your right to stand up for yourself and exhaust any possible means to get what is rightfully yours. And if it is, for example, not related to management, but related to colleagues, well, that kind of labeling is also bullying, is mobbing. So I would say really well done, great courage, and don't leave it be. Having mental health struggles doesn't mean that you're a weak person. Many people who have mental health problems are doing amazing things in the world. It doesn't say anything about you. It's just, it's like you have a weak ankle, whatever. And it's also, though I don't want to ignore this, this also requires another discussion about what to disclose, how much to disclose, to whom, under which circumstances. We also need to talk about this, unfortunately. And this gives me another idea about the podcast episode. I will try to make one about this soon.
Thank you so much. Good advice. Yes, treat this as a prejudice. That's a very, very good tip. I like it. We have a question also from Prakash: how to handle the mood swings of professionals?
Oh, mood swings of others that you're working with. Well, if you think that they are having mental health problems, talking to them, encouraging them to seek help, that is an important one. I do have a podcast episode about this. It's called How to Help People with Mental Health Struggles. So you can check that one out. And how to handle mood swings. Well, when any person with or without diagnosed mental health difficulties, when any person has any behaviors of, like a bit of aggression, a bit of putting up armors, trying to protect themselves and all, it usually stems from the fact that they don't feel safe, and they don't feel like they either they don't belong in the environment, or they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe enough to speak their mind. So things tend to erupt instead of being talked about. So trying to change the culture, basically going to them and ask them, how is it going? What is, Is there a problem? When you see somebody having like extreme mood swings, really approaching them non-judgmentally and asking them if everything is okay. Maybe you don't know that person could be going through really difficult things in their lives, and asking that small question may help a lot. People have really different ways of coping with emotional overload. Some people shut down and they don't talk to anyone. For some people, it erupts as anger bursts or whatever. So for every person is different. And you, as their colleague or their boss, you have the power to change the culture in your organization in talking about these things and opening up the conversation in an accepting, non-judging way.
Yes, I've noticed from my work, working as a consultant with a lot of executives in particular, and some of the decisions across different organizations and different regions, I find just very strange, sometimes abrupt, sudden, irreasonable, angry. And what I've noticed over time, 50% of the decisions were because of the personal situations. So sometimes maybe it comes across unprofessional, but very often it came because they were under pressure. They were competing with something. There were politics in the company, or they had just personal problems at home. So at 50% at least, it was the decision were based because of the mental moment at the time. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I think
it's really true, and I would like to add to that, Beatrice, just like you said. Some of the treatment that you receive from other people, they are not about you, they're about them. It is about what is going on in their life and their ability to cope with it or not. And it comes out in a certain way. If you think it's out of proportion, if you think it's not fair, it's not about you, probably, just like you said. So we also need to keep that in mind, not taking things personally, and approach with compassion, thinking that there is something else in the background that might be going on that drives this person to behave this way.
Yeah, probably we have time for a couple of more questions only, but then everybody can reach out to you through your coaching, and I know that you are super responsive and very nice person. So, but I will read one.
I would like to say that my website is called www.mindyourownrevisions.com. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Özgün Ünver, Ph.D. And I'm very happy to connect with anyone. And before we move on to other questions, I would also like to say that I am happy to offer a free coaching session, 1 hour pure coaching to anyone listening to this podcast. You can find the link on my website, and you just fill an application form and I will get back to you. Whatever you are going through, you are not alone. And a coach might not be the person who can help you with your struggles, but at least it will be a step maybe to see what kind of help you need. So I also wanted to add this. So next question, please.
Thank you. One question I want to read out from Pedro. I am 53 years old. I work in the same company for 26 years. Now 3 weeks in a new job, but I'm not able to produce. I have not slept well because I think I'm not able to do the task. He works in the IT.
Yeah. Well, this sounds very normal to me. You worked in a company for so many years. That was your comfort zone. That was your home. You knew everything that was going on there, and you changed. That was a big change. You are in a completely new environment. You have completely new responsibilities, new colleagues, new everything. Give yourself some compassion. This is normal. That's one thing. The not beating yourself up is the first thing that you need to do. Secondly, talk to your boss. Talk to people. Ask for help. Last week, I was following a a Dare to Lead training prepared by Brené Brown also. And one of the very interesting things I learned about trust in the workplace is that the leaders, the executives said, most of them said that they trust most the employees who came to them asking for help. When we think that asking for help is a weakness. It's like, oh, accepting defeat. I can't do it. I'm not worth this job or whatever. That's not true. You know what you know, and you're in a completely new environment. It's been only a few weeks. It is more than normal that you feel this way. And if you take this to your boss and ask for help or ask for direction, if that person is has some sort of emotional intelligence, this will even help you both create more of a trusting bond between you two. So don't underestimate the power of asking for help, making yourself vulnerable. This is a very nice example of being vulnerable, really going and saying, oh, yeah, I don't know how to deal with this and I need help here. What should I prioritize? Where should I look into? Can you help me?
Very good. And very last question. There's quite a number of more, but sorry, I cannot read all of them. So please reach out to Özgün.
Yes, please reach out. Yeah.
One last question from Abhishek, which kind of relates back to academia. How can we encourage mental well-being at academic institutions, such as consular and community events?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good question. It's a very important subject. In my own university, for instance, I see a lot being done for students. There's a increasing awareness of mental health in general, all over the world, I see, and increasing awareness for students. There are all kinds of resources for students. You have free counseling, this and that. But for staff members, you're an adult. You're supposed to take care of yourself. I think this has to change. I think we need to do something at the institutional level, because there's also some research saying that academics are, in general, more under stress and more at risk of developing mental health issues because of the high stress environment, because of their job, basically. It's a huge contributor to this. So I would say that in an ideal world, universities would also have such services to support the staff members. And this would be everywhere, all around the world, because that is what's needed. What we can do, we can start raising awareness. We can start talking about it. If you're too scared to just go to the rector and give them a petition, I start something like this, start at least talk about it with your colleagues. Yeah, how do you feel? How do you cope? Are you having mental health troubles? How are you dealing with it? So once people talk about it more and more, it becomes more normal. And then from there, you can take bigger steps. But it's a very, very good question. Yeah, in my wildest dreams, this kind of support is available everywhere for every employee, not only for students, not only for young people, but people at every age. Because as I said in the beginning, mental health, the spectrum, and all of us can move from any give point to any other point from one day to the other. It is also unpredictable sometimes. So this needs to be normalized.
Thank you so much, Özgün. Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry I didn't ask Özgün all questions, because there are quite a few, many interesting questions coming around. So it seems like we have chosen the topic very well. Important topic and a problem. I wish you all the best. Take care of yourself. Keep safe and sound. And do reach out to Özgün. Reach out to us as well. Why not? We are a community. We take care of each other. So thank you everyone for listening to us, for your wonderful questions, and please to stay in touch. Thank you so much, Özgün.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Beatrice, for taking interest in this issue. And thank you everyone for listening. And please do reach out. Please don't underestimate the need for support. We are all human beings. We don't have to do this alone. We cannot take care of ourselves alone either. We are social beings. We need other people. So don't beat yourself up. Be self-compassionate and seek help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.